Hey guys, welcome to TFT Gear. I'm Matt, and today I'm going to be doing a review of the Yamaha HS8. Alright, before I get into my review, let's go over some basic studio theory real quick. If you want to have awesome mixes and a really successful studio, there's some basic components that you have to have in place. I would argue the most important component is your studio monitors, because it doesn't matter if you have the greatest vintage gear collection in the world, you have a beautiful space with amazing acoustics. If you don't have a way to accurately hear the mix that you're doing, then none of that matters, because maybe you get it sounding great in your room, but then you take it out into the world and it sounds terrible. That's why I recommend to anybody that if you're going to invest money, that you put it into studio monitors first. All right, with that out of the way, let's go ahead to the review. This is the Yamaha HS8. The HS series is the latest in a long line of Yamaha studio monitors. It also comes in an HS7, 5, and HS8i, which is a subwoofer. They're all named for the size of their woofer, so this has an 8-inch woofer and then a 7 and 5 respectively. They all have a 1-inch dome tweeter with an internal crossover point set at 2 kilohertz. The range of the HS8 is 38 Hz to 30 kilohertz. Now these are all active monitors, so the amps built in, you'll never have to have an external amp to push these speakers. The amp on the HS8 is 120 watts, which gives you a ton of headroom. I never have to turn mine up all the way. I leave it halfway and it's still got plenty of volume for me. On the back panel, you have an XLR input as well as a 1/4-inch TRS input. There's a room control switch with a -2 or -4 decibel cut on a low shelf at 500 Hz and a trim switch with a +2 or -2 option for a high shelf at 2 kilohertz. And since that's where the internal crossover point is, that's just turning your tweeter up or down by 2 dB. And then there's the volume knob, of course. The looks of this monitor obviously harken back to the NS10, the most ubiquitous monitor in all of recording history. If you've ever been into a professional recording studio, you've seen a pair of NS10s with the black body and the white woofer. Now they've modernized it a little bit with the rounded corners, and they've given it this cool glowing blue logo in the front. But how does it sound? In a word, impressive. The HS8 is extremely flat and very accurate. When I was A/Bing it against the competition in the store, I felt like a lot of the other monitors were exciting things a little too much, and others were even adding low end. And remember what I said earlier, you need things to be as accurate as possible. If you're making a bad mix, you need your monitors to tell you you're making a bad mix, because you want the world to hear things the way that you do while you're mixing. I went with the 8-inch version because I don't want a subwoofer. I don't want to have to calibrate my room and my system with that extra speaker. And with the low end going all the way down to 38 Hz, you really don't need a subwoofer unless you're doing something with a lot of low frequency effects, maybe something for television, film, or you're doing EDM. Maybe you're going to want an additional sub, but the sub is even 8 inches anyways, so I really think the HS8 will do everything you need. Once I got it home, I noticed that it had a very nice size listening window. So you didn't have to sit right at the point of that equilateral triangle. You had some wiggle room before you started to notice some roll off on top. But the biggest change was in the clarity. All of a sudden in my mixes, I was hearing things that I had never heard before. The effects, the reverb, the delay was all right there in front of me. Anytime I made a change in my compression, I heard it immediately, whereas with my last monitors, sometimes I had to make larger changes in order to hear them. The HS8s will run you about $600 to $700 for a pair, depending on where you go, which still brings them in the lower cost tier of studio monitors. So to sum it up, the Yamaha HS8 is extremely transparent, it has a full range, it looks good, and it's a great value. If you're looking for a new set of studio monitors, the HS8 will do just about anything you need.